Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Semi Soccer Experts Podcast, also known as the Three Podcast. All right, guys, we're on episode number 47. As I always like to joke around, anything special about the number 47? Not anything I could think of, but 4 plus 7 is 11. Any players with the number 11 on the top of your head, Adrian?
Ryan Giggs.
Okay.
Um, also was Gareth Bale was he wore number 11.
Gareth, he wore number
Right.
11. James Rodriguez wore 11 at Bayern.
11,
11 is a
11's a
11 is a tough number.
yeah, it's a tough slash tricky number because it's always given to like I guess the left sided midfielder slash winger.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's the number that's been synonymous with it.
Think Drogba wore 11. No,
Yeah.
that's
Did you wear 10?
Chelsea, right? No, he did. He didn't. I don't think he wore 10. No, Drogba did not wear.
I'm not a Chelsea fan, so I give a shit. uh,
Drogba wore, if I'm not mistaken, he wore number. Why is it the one place I'm looking for is not showing up?
Pretty sure he was 11.
Yeah, he's 11. Ooh, I was right.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's probably the best. If you had to think of one number 11, it's him. An iconic number 11 in the modern era, at least for me. He,
I stay with gigs there.
all right, Ryan Giggs, right? All right. So Adrian, we had I think it's been a slow week, right, for soccer in terms of
Yeah, so
activity going on this week of what,
it's been
February 19th?
kind of a slow week, but also we got the return of the Champions League. So, it's been an interesting couple of games that have occurred. The biggest name of the week, biggest game of the week was not by Barcelona versus PSG. The only reason I put like Bayern there is because it felt like the Bayern versus Barcelona game that happened this past summer. It was pretty known as the Mbappe show. PSG, this is their first Champions League game under Maurice Pochettino, and the expectations weren't that high. I even seen the bookies had Barcelona in favor. A lot of people would think that because given that they had no Neymar, they also didn't really play Di Maria. I think he's injured as well. So there was a lot of unpredictability going on, and Mbappe just took over the show, scored a beautiful hat trick, especially with the first goal he scored, and he pretty much won the pundits man of the match, deservedly so.
Yeah, yeah, no, you mentioned the bookies. I found that so incredibly crazy that the bookies would favor Barcelona in this one game. I would have never put my money on Barcelona. My money was 100% on PSG. Um, and that's because it's not because of Barcelona being Barcelona. It's because of the way they've been playing right now. It's Messi is unfortunately not where he once was, and he's surrounded by unfortunately either young kids or players that just aren't up to par or are underperforming. Griezmann has not lived up to his price tag at all.
Yeah,
Um, and apart from Neymar, PSG's got a full squad, and you're working with a great tactician, great coach as Pochettino. My money, if I were the bookies, they did a huge mistake.
yeah,
I had a friend
for the
who
Champions
bet on Barcelona, and he lost his money outright. That surprised me. I know a lot of people that put money on Barca, and that's just out of my mind.
League. Yeah,
But
unless
they
you're
took.
like a diehard fan, I don't see why would you have. If anything, I would have done a draw. At best, because like this, like same time, yeah, Barcelona's not the same strength, but you can never know when Messi, you throw Messi in a side, he's gonna get you goals or he's gonna lead the team. But obviously they kept him in check. He did score a penalty, which was very controversial. That penalty call was, in my opinion, not a penalty. It was light, very soft, and obviously should, those kind of calls should be, very called out on because you don't want to be given those, especially in a high caliber game like a Champions League.
Right, but I don't know. I wasn't seeing Barca getting. I'm not seeing Barca getting out of this one. There is not going to be no
No
comeback
comeback
game.
like
I don't see a comeback game this time around.
yeah.
And that's
And the
assuming I'm
funny
not.
thing is that Pique would do, he was caught on film. cursing at his teammates. I think it was to Rodri and Griezmann as well. Like, pretty much trying to get them to like, hey, step it up. We're losing. What the fuck is going on? Etc. Etc. It's all in Spanish, mind you. But you can tell the frustration behind it. And the
I
other
don't
thing
I
is,
don't think they were losing at that point. They weren't losing. They were still 1-1 at that point when
oh
that
really?
happened. Yeah, they weren't even losing, but that shows you where the state of the game was, that they kept getting attacked the whole time, you know.
Yeah,
Barca was not an A game. There were points in the game, and mind you, I didn't watch the game. I watched the analysis of it, but there are points in the game where Barca's playing with seven defenders. You know, Barca in my lifetime have never played with seven defenders. They're a team that pushes up. They play with seven attackers, not with seven defenders.
or
Um,
based on
Cole,
midfield as well,
huh?
or based on their midfield.
Yeah, no, definitely. But Coleman went into this game letting PSG. Coleman was came into this game reactive.
Yeah,
Let's go see what PSG does. We'll go adapt to PSG, and that's not the case. Barca's identity has never been that. You know, Barca has a philosophy: we're going to keep the ball, we're going to push up, and we're going to attack. You know, we're going to be sharks. We're going to bite every single time. And this was not the traditional Barca. And mind you, they have the players to to implement that system. But instead of going out and trying to win the game, they decide to hold back and let's counterattack on whatever PSG does. You know, they play with such a low back line, and I get it. You don't want to give Mbappe any space behind the defense. But at the same time, if you play with that whole back line deep, you have a big gap between your midfield line and your defense line, and then you give the other PSG players. Verratti played a wonderful game, and you give them freedom to work around. And look, it didn't work at the end. They get scored what 6-1 was it? The final score
it was 4-1.
4-1. I'm sorry, so 4-1 the final score. So at the end of the day, I think this comes down. I put 100% the blame on Coleman because the players do have the ability. These youth, especially the youth players from Barca, have the ability to play. But enough about analyzing games because that's not what we were here for. I think the big thing is the location of these games
Yeah,
of the next round of Champions League. I think the big one is the Liverpool and Leipzig. They're playing in Hungary, or they played in Hungary, right?
yeah,
Yes, they played in Hungary, and they lost. Liverpool won 2-0 against Leipzig. Um, but yeah, so the big thing there is the the COVID restrictions. You know,
yeah. This
Germany
also
is not allowed in.
sorry to cut you off, but this also happened
Yeah,
in Europa League games as well.
yeah,
Um,
Europa.
Especially with the English teams. Arsenal against Benfica. I think they played in Roma. And when United played Real Sociedad, we actually played in Turin. I think in this field.
In
I'm
the Juve
stadium.
Stadium, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming it says Turin, so that's the only stadium I fucking know. So
So yeah, the Juventus Stadium in Turin. That's where Man U played Sociedad, right?
correct.
Correct. So there's a whole big mess here because nobody in Europe wants to let any Englishmen
And they don't want
in
no
their
Englishmen
country.
in, but the English are willing to take in these other teams in. So but I
And,
think it's all due to the lockdown that's been implemented from England and the whole infection rates. So
right.
there's a reason why, and it's understandable. But it's also just weird because you're playing in a neutral field for like an away leg, especially if you're a home team. It sucks for you.
Yeah, no, and absolutely. But I think at the same time, you know, that home field advantage is really about the crowd. You know, there have been studies on what the home field advantage can do for a team, what the crowd can do for a team. And since this COVID lockdown, since there's been no fans allowed in the stadium, that actual the stat for the home team advantage wins has gone down. So rightfully so, it's not too much of a big deal when it comes to the product on the field. It does suck, however, for the logistics. You know, the teams traveling. You know, if you were Sociedad and you were supposed to play in Spain, you have your equipment, you have your logistics, your cars, your buses, whatever you need, it's right there. Now you're basically playing two away legs.
Yep. Yeah,
You
that's the
know,
same thing with Benfica as well.
So and here's the flip side of that is, let's say Man U or Liverpool, do they get to play in England and those teams get to go into England? Because then it definitely wouldn't be fair because, if you're playing in Liverpool, you could just drive to the game or the stadium or wherever. Meanwhile, Leipzig still has to fly. So Leipzig flew to Hungary and then flew to England. That's the jet lag.
Yeah.
So I think in these situations they have to do both legs in that same field because then the teams are accounted for the they account for the jet lag. You know, it wouldn't be fair for one or the other. Um, so yeah, logistic wise, it's a nightmare. I'm also I think about it in terms of COVID. It's a lot easier to let a team, Manchester United has their 20 players and another 20 staff, I guess maybe, or how many much more staff travels with the team. That's 40 people, 40, 30 people roughly, right? Do you agree?
Yeah.
And then it's a lot easier to test 30 people coming in and out of the country, quarantine them, tracking them than it is, if you open up the borders.
But that's
It's a
the thing.
whole
They're
different thing.
not even quarantining. I don't even think they're quarantining, to be
I,
honest.
I I mean, to be honest, if they're testing daily, if they
Yeah.
tested 3 days out in England and they all test negative, then they test 3 days in when they get to Hungary or Turin or wherever, and they test negative, I'd say it's okay.
Yeah, yeah, because I was gonna say they're not even quarantining just for the sheer fact that United we just played in Turin and we're gonna play against Newcastle on Sunday. So that quick turnaround, obviously they should be getting tested and everything. Hopefully they, all protocols being met. But that's the crazy thing because it's a risk as well that you're doing because you don't know. Like, granted, you are getting tested, but at the same time, you're still exposed to like traveling and everything, the wherewithal with that. So that's kind of a question I'm surprised hasn't been posed from other like medical researchers or doctors saying, hey, what's going on. But
But that's the thing too, is that England has different restrictions, has different protocols.
yeah,
And now we all know that the UK has just left the European Union. So again, that's another set of different protocols.
yeah,
European Union has their set, and then individual countries has their own subset of protocols. This raises the question: why are they still playing football in a pandemic? Why are we still risking these people's lives in a pandemic? And that poses a very interesting question. I was thinking about this. Let's say we did cancel the Champions League. What are the rest of the population supposed to do? I think having football, for those people that want to say we should cancel football, all right. Having football, it allows people to stay inside, an excuse to keep the people inside their houses to watch these games. Imagine what the normal fan would do if they had nothing to cheer for or nothing to, outlet of energy. So a lot of people say that these governments are irresponsible, allowing all this cross-border travel for something that is non-essential. And let's be honest, it's non-essential to the
yeah,
human life. But at the same time, I think it was the right idea. I remember when they were talking about England going into a second lockdown, they said that professional sports would continue to resume. And I don't I mean, sure, there might have been some money involved, or political pressure involved, but at the same time, it would drive the people insane, and they already are insane. They're driving people more insane if they have nothing else to look forward to. I think that's also a side of the coin that people should look at. Is like there's a reason why this is still happening.
yeah. I feel you on that. Like I said, it's a double-edged sword to be dealing with right now, with this, with games still being on. Granted, it's good for us because we get, even though we're not like on lockdown, we still get to watch sports on the daily. But at the same time, people are, players are potentially getting themselves exposed and their loved ones and
Mhm.
whoever else they come in direct contact with. So, it is very, not scary, but in a sense, like, it is kind of risky just to be, still doing travel, especially to other countries. Like, I get what, the purpose of the Champions League. And I get why, like, most of these countries, like the Spaniard countries, and the German countries are not allowing these teams to come into their their stadiums because they don't want
Mhm.
to risk it. They don't want to go through that trouble. So that's why they've done it in neutral fields. And granted, hopefully, like I said, hopefully all the testing is being done. That's the one thing I do hope. Because the last thing we do need is team full player getting sick and then everybody else is infected. That's the last thing
Mhm.
everybody wants. So
Yeah, no, of course.
I'm just hoping
Understood.
for the best.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, just to tie this all into one nice bow, I think what they should have done, well, at least towards the more, we're still in the round of 16. At the quarterfinals, they should host this all in one site. But then I just thought about it; it's going to conflict with the domestic schedule.
Yeah.
That's the issue. But hey, who knows? It's a lot of things that need to be worked out. All right. So, anything else before we move stateside? Anything in Europe that we should talk about?
I'm surprised you didn't talk about Juventus losing to Porto this past Wednesday.
I mean, they lost, but it's not really relevant to what we talk about. I mean, I guess it kind of dewaters the brand. Sure, you have a Juventus, a major European powerhouse, and let's be honest, they're not doing well in the Serie A either. They're in fourth place.
Yeah.
Um, so it's definitely their performance right now is definitely dewatering the brand, and I'm sure Adidas is not happy about that either. You know, and let's think about it. Cristiano himself isn't going to be happy. He might leave. He's up. I think his end of his contract is this year.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
it's a lot.
speaking of that, I'm just cutting you off. With Ronaldo and Messi, we're pretty much seeing them at the end. And there's been a lot of comparisons being made saying with Mbappe and Haaland, because Haaland also scored 2 goals against Sevilla, put on a masterclass performance. Are we really at the end point where we're seeing not the downfall, but the rise of like two new, future stars in Mbappe and Haaland, and they're suddenly but slowly dropping stock of Ronaldo and Messi.
Yeah,
Are we at
no.
that point?
We of course we're at that point. They're eventually. Messi and Ronaldo's bodies were a good give out. You mentioned. I think if you talk about the two best youngest players in the world right now, it's definitely Mbappe and Haaland. Um, I'll tell you, and the thing with the comparison is, I grew up watching Cristiano and Messi. I saw them from when they were 19, 18 years old up until today. And with all due respect to Haaland and Mbappe, they they're not doing what they do. What Haaland and Mbappe do is they put up numbers. They put up numbers on the board. But I'll use Messi as an example. That ball, especially when he was younger, that ball was glued to his foot. You know, Mbappe, phenomenal athlete, phenomenal footballer. But what I see is he's quick, he's fast, and he scores goals. But if he's going to out dribble anyone, I don't see it. I mean, like the way Messi dribbles.
Yeah.
No, and I like Mbappe, and I'm not trying to disrespect him at any point. Same thing with Haaland. Like he scores goals. He scored great goals. He scored beautiful goals. I compare Haaland's goal scoring to Ibrahimovic, the way he used to score goals. I think Haaland's gonna probably the rate he's going at scoring goals, he'll definitely be past Ibrahimovic. But it, I don't see this comparison. The only other player I didn't get to watch Pelé, but I've seen clips of Maradona. That's the only player I would put in that category with Messi and Ronaldo and what they did with the ball.
Hmm.
Another player I would put Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho did whatever he wanted with the ball. But we are seeing the downfall of Messi and Cristiano. We are seeing the rise of Mbappe and Haaland. And to be honest, I can't think of a third kid right now. Ansu Fati, before he got injured, he was doing phenomenal. Um, Pedri, great for Barcelona, and Trincao. I like him too. I don't know what's gonna happen with them. They're still like in their teens, I believe. I is there a youngster right now that I can think of besides Mbappe and Haaland? Not at the moment. No.
I was gonna say like those two are the ones who are like taking it off. Obviously we do have like some players in the EPL, like Phil Foden who's blowing up. We do have obviously Marcus Rashford, but he's like getting past, he's getting there as well. But like I said, just those two players I could just think of right now. Sancho was up there too, but he's took in a like a dump, literally. And but it's just those two that I just have in mind because it's not that like I'm not comparing them in the sense like how Ronaldo and Messi, revitalized the game, but I'm just talking about in the sense like, hey, these are the now the go-to guys. And what sucks is like everybody considered Neymar as the guy to take over after Ronaldo and Messi call it quit. But he's just like right there in the sidelines. He's always, I think he's just gonna play like second fiddle to both of them because I think Neymar just hasn't really, not to say he hasn't lived up to his expectation, but he was just so much of a high ceiling he had to reach just to even get near the pinnacle of Ronaldo and Messi.
I think I I definitely think that Neymar. When you see there's definition, people have their own definition of what the best footballer is. You know, for me, in my opinion, it's someone who can dominate the ball and do whatever he likes. That to me is the best player in the world. When again, when you bring up Haaland and Mbappe, first of all, I think I don't even want to compare it yet because they still have 15 more years of their career. But when their career is over, then we could sit back. Okay, were these two better or were these two better? I still don't see Mbappe and Haaland doing exactly what they want with the ball. Messi, Cristiano, Ronaldinho, they did whatever they wanted with the ball. To an extent, Zlatan does what he wants with the ball. That to me is the best football in the world. If you could put this ball 20 yards and in one exact spot, that's good. If you can dribble to 4 or 5 people, you're great. If you can trap a ball from wherever in whatever position, that to me is the greatest player in the world. I'll be honest with you. I haven't watched Mbappe every single game or Haaland every single game. But what I see is that they're great goal scorers. Their stats, they have great stats. They're great athletes, great footballers. But when it comes down to the raw talent and the raw skill, in basketball terms, they got handles.
They got handles.
I still put Messi. I still put Cristiano. I still put Ronaldinho, Maradona.
Yeah, the
You know?
thing with Messi and Ronaldo, we were privileged to get two players who are like literally once in a lifetime type of bona fide
Yeah.
players. To touch like to be in their primes together and just have that rivalry through over the 2010s all over. I think we were very privileged to witness that. But now I think since we had such high caliber players, just under the threshold, we're starting to get these new players. Sure, they have the potential, and I say Mbappe has the potential to reach those heights. It just depends
Mhm.
where he goes because he's already won a World Cup, and if he wins a Champions League, he's getting there. He's gonna get there.
I, I mean, to counter argue your point, there's plenty of players that have won the Champions League and the World Cup, and they don't necessarily enter into the
But he,
conversation of the
but he
greatest
was a
players
focal.
ever.
He's been a focal point at it though. That's the thing. Mbappe was pretty much the reason why he knocked out Messi in Argentina out of the World Cup. You know.
I mean, I wouldn't. I think Pogba and Giroud play more of a role in those games.
Mm,
But that's my
that's a
opinion.
debate for
I would
another
say
time.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But just to wrap it all up, I don't know. For me, Messi, Cristiano, even and I'm biased. Even someone like El Pibe Valderrama, he could do whatever he wanted with the ball.
Mhm.
You know that very the South American talent, Cruyff, Johan Cruyff. He did whatever he wanted with the ball. To give a European example, you know, it, I think I'll say this, and maybe this is on a whim. Iniesta and Xavi, I think, were better players. Those were also two players that did whatever they want with the ball.
Mhm.
But that again, that's my opinion. Everyone has their opinions. I'll say this: the next two greatest players in contention for the Ballon d'Or would definitely be Haaland and Mbappe.
Yeah, I think those two are more than likely going to, they're strong favorites right now, considering how far we go along with the rest of this Champions League cycle and the rest of this, all the domestic seasons. But those two have really hit at the forefront as quality players. Like they're right there. And it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. But enough of that. Since we were stuck in Europe, we're going to go back to the States. As mentioned in the last episode, we did talk about the MLS Players Association dealing with MLS as a whole in regards to the collective bargaining agreement. There was talks of a potential lockdown from MLS because Players Association did not want to agree. But as of last week, last Friday, they did reach an agreement. So they reached a 7-year agreement. So now this agreement is going to last all the way past the 2027 season, which was something that the Player Association did not want because they wanted it to end before the 2026 season. So because that's the World Cup year and it's going to be held in the States and Canada and Mexico, where they can get leverage for a better deal and more partnership money in that. But obviously they caved in. So what's your thoughts on it, Mario? And this is a good thing because the players get to play, but was it all worth it for the MLSPA's perspective?
From the PA's perspective, I think obviously the previous CBA was more favorable, but a lot of the details that we mentioned, I think there's the details that we talked about is what's gotten into the new CBA, correct?
Yeah,
You
more
know,
or less, yeah.
so
Listen,
no, at the end, I think at the end of the day, even the prior CBA was still favored the league more so than the players, and that's gonna stay a while until MLS is one of the premier leagues. I think hockey is on its way down. It's gonna MLS is eventually gonna occupy that fourth spot between hockey. I mean, between obviously MLB, NFL, NBA, and then the fourth obviously is gonna be MLS.
hmm
And until it gets to that point, you know, I don't see the players having much of a bargaining chip with the league. I still think that the league needs to pay the players more. You
Yeah.
know,
The only
without
bright
the
side
with
from this that I did see is that for this season, no players are going to take a pay cut or anything. They're going to be entitled to 100% of their salaries and bonuses. So
as they should, yeah,
okay.
100%.
So that's one thing I think that was good on both ends. But obviously, the I think the player salary is going to be staying. It's going to be stagnant for the next 2 years, and then it's slowly, gradually going up as the year progresses. Because
You
obviously,
know,
they know they're not
you
going to
know,
make
and
during these times.
I'm sure once COVID, whenever this pandemic is over, everyone gets their vaccine, whatnot. I think the CBA will probably go into another negotiation, and then I think by then, hopefully, the players union should have a better something more to bargain with. Obviously, the concessions like we spoke about in the previous episode should increase because obviously now you have stadium revenue, you have the money from actual food concessions, ticket revenue, parking. There's going to be more sponsorships available. Obviously, once COVID is done, the sponsorship money is definitely going to go up. So it's just a matter of time that when this is all over, because I really want to go to Red Bull
Yeah, same here. It's been a while since I've actually been to a soccer game, to be honest. And this is talking about. I'm talking about this like pre-COVID. Like I haven't. I think the last game I did see was United versus Real Madrid in Miami in 2018. So it's been quite a long time for me, to say the least.
Arena. That is a long time.
Yeah. When's
I'm
the last
pretty
time you
sure
saw a game?
I think I went to Red Bull Arena. I definitely went to Red Bull Arena game last season,
Wait, was it the time we went? Oh,
2019.
last season you went?
Yeah, in 2019, the last season they had fans. I'm pretty sure I went to a game. I hope I did. But again, just tying it back together. Let's just hope that this starts to favor more the players, because again, without the players, there is no product, there
Yeah.
is no league, there is nothing. You just have some nice shirts and a badge. That's it. But without the players, there's nothing. Anything else you want to add to that, Adrian?
Yeah, like you said, I think they should revisit that once COVID is like pretty much not a big, pandemic and what it is this day and age. I think they should take that into a factor because I think especially like 2023, 24, it also depends how this World Cup turns out for the US as well, because I feel like every time the US does well in a World Cup, people start putting their eyeballs into MLS. Not because most of the players, half the players are in Europe, but just being like, hey, we have a soccer league. Okay, well, maybe we should check it out.
Yeah,
See where these guys come from. All that. So I think that's going to be a determining factor after this 2022 World Cup in Qatar. And mind you, it's going to be a Winter World Cup, which I still haven't really embraced, and it's a year away. So with that being
it
said,
is a Euro.
yeah. So with that being said, I think they should revisit that once the World Cup passes. And also, if not that, definitely when 2026 is around the corner, because we automatically get into the World Cup and we're going to be hosting it. So there's a whole bunch of potential chuck and change that's going to be out there.
All right. So enough about this World Cup talk, though. We're going to keep it in MLS. Something, topic that's near and dear to my heart. Inter Milan is suing Inter Miami for the use of the word Inter. Interesting stuff here. To be honest, I don't see Inter Milan having claim over the trademark Inter. Um, One of the things that the New York Times quoted out in that article was, if you let's just theoretically say that Inter Milan lawsuit is successful and they bar Inter Miami from using the word Inter, that sets a precedent, because then a team like Manchester United could go over and say to DC United, well, you can't use the word United, because we were the first ones to use the word United. And when people say United, you don't think of DC United. You don't think of what other team uses the word United.
Newcastle.
Newcastle United. You think United. You think Manchester United.
Yeah.
You know, when the general soccer population says Inter, for the most part, we think of Inter Milan. Now, mind you, the second most populous Inter team is Internacional in Brazil. I think it's Sporting Clube Internacional, which they also go by the word Inter. There's also another team called Inter in Turkey. I'm not really sure what their full name is, but it's Inter. So again, that opens up the floodgates, because then Real Madrid can sue Real Salt Lake.
I'm gonna say Sociedad. I don't know if I had them in my
Well,
head.
Real Sociedad, yeah, absolutely. It's a precedent in the legal sense.
Yeah.
And so they say that it bars, if Inter Miami uses this name, it bars it not bars, but it slows the growth of Inter Milan as a club in general, especially stateside. Which I don't think that seems to be the case. I think if you're an MLS fan, you definitely if you're an MLS fan, you like soccer. You definitely know the general landscape of European soccer by this point. If you're a soccer fan, you're not necessarily an MLS fan. There's plenty of people who love soccer in the stateside that don't care for the MLS. You know, they don't know all the teams. I can list all the teams, but that's because I'm in this business and whatnot. So I think this lawsuit, though, is more of a publicity stunt, in my opinion. And now they're talking about doing some type of partnership with Inter Miami, which I think is the smartest idea. I think having a partnership with Inter Milan and Inter Miami two very powerful brands. Now, mind you, Beckham played for AC Milan, so I don't know where his loyalties are at. But business wise, it makes sense. An MLS team partnering with a European powerhouse makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, because what's his face team does it's from Texas. Oh my God, FC Dallas. They already have a partnership with Bayern, so
With Bayern, right?
yeah.
Right,
So
and it's
it
working
does
out for
make sense.
them.
Yeah, exactly. It benefits FC Dallas, even though they still suck. But with that being said, it is beneficial. It's crazy because I've been thinking about it too. Like how close they both sound to each other. So if you were to say
Yeah, they
Inter
do. Yeah,
Milan, Inter Miami, they're literally almost spelled identically to the same, and it's so weird and crazy just thinking about it. But just not even just saying that. It's just I don't even know what made Beckham want to get the Inter name. First off, a lot of people were making jokes saying
yeah.
Miami Beckham United or some shit like that. So,
No, so the reason why if you actually look at the name Inter Miami in the crest, it says Fútbol Club de Inter Internacional. I mean, I think it's in Spanish.
yeah,
The
yeah.
idea is that
Because Miami's
the
based
it's Spanish
in a big Latino
Spanish community,
demographic. Yeah.
Latino community. So that's why they decide to go with the name Internacional Inter. So
Hmm.
and it's not just to embrace. Obviously, there's more ethnicities than Hispanics or Latinos in Miami,
Yeah.
but it embraces everybody. And from a marketing standpoint, it makes sense. You want this club is for everybody. You know, so I understand why. I think they definitely should have known that this was going to happen. Something like this, that Inter Milan wasn't just going to sit there and just say, "Hey, can't name yourself Inter. We're Inter." You know, but I don't. I don't see Inter Milan have legal grounds because one, it's a European-based company
Well,
owned by the
they
Chinese.
may have legal grounds in the sheer fact that they already trademarked their name as Inter in the U.S. back in 2014, and I think it's just been
So
disputed from the
it
MLS about
it
it.
it was still pending
Yeah,
because they were saying, is it Inter or Enter, because they both sound the same.
Enter.
So
Yeah,
that was still pending,
yeah,
and that's where MLS said, well, hey, it doesn't really make sense,
yeah, yeah. Because
because your trademark
MLS
is still
tried
pending.
to block it essentially, but that got
Right.
denied.
That's a nice. But I think the latest rumor is that they're going to do some type of partnership, and it makes sense. It just from a
I was gonna
from a
say,
business standpoint, it makes sense.
you guys have the same brand affiliate? I think they're Adidas, right? Inter Miami, they're Adidas in Milan.
All of
Inter
MLS is
or
Adidas.
Adidas. Yeah, same.
Inter Milan is Nike.
Oh, see, I was gonna say I don't know some
So
merch
so the
stuff.
only thing, yeah,
Yeah.
so the only thing I could think of is that if this something bad goes for the lawsuit on Inter Milan side, Nike would intervene
Yeah.
because Nike's biggest football product is Barcelona, but after that it'd probably be uh, Inter Milan. Because what English team do they have right now? They have Chelsea and Tottenham.
Yeah. And they're all
So they
shit.
have two. So those two English team, and then
Oh
they
no,
have
no,
Inter
no!
Milan.
The fucking rats, Liverpool. They got Liverpool.
Oh, Liverpool. Okay, so Inter Milan is actually pretty down the pecking order. Inter
Yeah.
Milan, but still, it wouldn't they wouldn't want their one of the longest partnerships to just go away. And right now Inter is on set. Barring that we beat AC Milan in the derby, should win the Serie A. There's no reason why we shouldn't win the Serie A.
Cheers to
But
the season.
cheers to the end of the season, right? All right, Adrian, do you want to add anything else to that? Into Miami, Milan fiasco?
Well, overall, I think it's from a legal point of view, it's hilarious because I just want to see how the litigation goes if this does take over. But I think by next year they're gonna. I think Inter Milan is going to really look at the legality and see because if it does get passed and they get the patent and trademark, then it's gonna be very tricky for especially Inter Miami because they're gonna have to be fighting against. It's literally gonna be the black and pink against the black and blue of
Mm-hmm.
of both
Correct.
sides.
Eh, it's an interesting color combination, but we also got to think about Miami, a very big fashion
Oh
city,
yeah,
and then Milan, I think,
it's
is the fashion
Milan.
capital of the world.
Yeah,
Milan and Miami, there's definitely flights in
there's so
between
many
there, flights in.
similarities about it, which is another hilarious thing. Um, that's what I'm saying. It's just so weird. But overall, I do wish like they just just suck it up and just like hey, do a partnership or do something together because I feel like I like the name Inter Miami to be honest, and Inter Milan is always gonna be known as Inter Milan. So there's no
Mhm.
changing that. So I think they
No,
should. They should.
they have to go to partnership, yeah. And even then, it's like it's a European all the way over there trying to force something in here. It's like that's difficult.
Yeah.
But anyway, Adrian, do you want to add anything else before we close out today?
No, that's about it. We're almost near episode 50.
Uh,
Literally two more
Almost to
episodes.
50.
Yeah, two more
Two
episodes,
more
and then
episodes.
we're
It's
on
going to
to
be
50.
exciting. I can't wait. All right,
Yes.
guys. As always, thank you everyone for watching and listening.
Yep. Thank you guys for listening and enjoy the content.